Welcome, everyone. I'm Julie Bieland, and we're recording live in the Sensitive Empowerment community, and we've invited some special guests to join us as well, too. Today's topic is honoring Black HSP leaders of this generation and generations to come, how we overcome the inner battles we face, and what fuels our strength to show up in our own unique way with Michael Coles. Michael is an HSP, intuitive health strategy coach, and holistic health practitioner. He helps professionals heal and improve their health by creating health strategies that work and are sustainable to live a life of fulfillment and joy. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yay, so happy. Yeah, this is your second event with us, and I'm going to put a link to your earlier event too, and we post the show notes and everything so everybody can see it. Yes, we're very happy to have you. I really love what you said that you wanted listeners to receive today. You said that you wanted listeners to know that there is a safe place to express themselves and others will hold space for them and listen. The first step to healing is acknowledging the shadow that follows you to be able to embrace the light. I really love that. Do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, I mean, besides being a HSP and I guess being a outlier in a lot of society and groups and families and people not understanding us, being Black in this generation and the past generation and the future generation, it's all they're it's different but the same, if you will. So it's like we all hold the cellular memory of our ancestors and the pain that people went through, but each generation has a different experience when it comes to prejudice, racism, just different things of oppression, of having a, I guess, global stereotype, but also a stereotype from the past generation of how you should be. What is your identity? I'm telling you because you are this race, you are this gender, that you're supposed to act in the world this way because of X, Y, and Z. So there's a lot more of a push to act a certain way because of the oppression and of trying to get the upswing of, like, if you're better than these other white people, then they're going to see you as equal, but you have to push harder, you have to act a certain way, and if you act the same way that you act at home with us, they're going to think that you're in this box, and you might not get the opportunities that you would. And also, like, fitting in, as well. It's like when my father was younger, he grew up in Jim Crow and segregation. So it was like everything was separate. You fit in because you can only be with your people. My generation, I grew up, luckily out of civil rights and I mean, out of that era, Jim Crow, but having civil rights, not really seeing racism unless it's kind of, bits here and bits there, but it wasn't in my face, like pushing me down all the time. And then being biracial, it's like I'm in a school with all different races, creeds, and colors, but I feel different being an HSP. I feel different being two races. And then the Black kids say, "Oh, you're too white. You act too white. You don't fit in our box." And then the white kids, "Oh, you're too Black. You don't fit in our box. And then you're also sensitive. You're not this. You're not that." So it was so much judgment, but also a lot of, I guess, expectation from my family of, speak well, don't, sag your pants, don't try and be cool with like all the other people in school. And it's like trying to join the fads of like all the cool clothes and, like, and the hip hop culture. It was like, no, that culture is okay, but for you as my child, you need to dress well, you need to speak well, you need to like get good grades, because if you don't, then you're probably not going to get the best job. And kind of there was this kind of like hierarchy of like of needs to be met, but also a higher expectation of what you need to do, because you're not like the other white kids that can just go and do whatever they want. So just seeing my generation, and then seeing this new generation of kids growing up not even knowing color. They're just like, that's my friend. You know, like they have no idea what color, what race is, what racism, what prejudice is. And some people think it's gone, think it's like, you know, like that's in the past. Like, you know, I don't have to think about my history because that's in the past and this is a new generation. But then Charlottesville happened, and I actually lived in Charlottesville when all those riots were happening, and the people getting run over, and it was just chaos. And it really opened my eyes to say that this type of mentality is still here, but it's been kind of hidden and diluted and kind of pushing the shadows. But there's still this level of racism, prejudice, and like patriarchy as well. And it's still here. And I think even though Black people are educated, they are successful, they live and have a good life, there is still this inner battle at times of am I living up to who I am supposed to be? Am I good enough to do this job, to be a parent, to do this, you know? And there's a lot of judgment from other people of, you're not doing it like you're supposed to be doing it. So then there's this questioning of, am I really doing it right? You know, like, and there's this kind of level of shame from the past generations of thinking that their way is the right way, and then we think our way is the right way, passing on to our children. So it kind of you know, keeps going. But I think our generation is becoming more open-minded and more fluid when it comes to raising our children in the future, hopefully to really recognize the racism, the pain, but also to empower them to say that they can make a change, they can stand up, they can be a leader in now, and then when they grow up in the future. And you know, fortunately, we're not beat down emotionally and physically like my, you know, past family was, of just physically, like, you can't come in this store because of you're Black, you got to go in the basement, you know. And just the stories that my dad has told me, it's very sad. And I feel, as a HSP, I really feel that hurt and that pain. And when things happen, I feel it for like days and weeks, and it's like it just sits with me. And I just really wanted to honor the past generation of people that might not be in the news and like have be in the history books, but they've done great things. And especially my dad, I think he's an HSP, because this past Black Lives Matter thing really struck home, and he was like, enough is enough. And you know, just the years of him seeing, hopefully this year, this president or this, you know, person in government or this person in power is going to change things. Nope, it's back to the same old like it was. And then hopefully this person will change. Nope, it's back to the same. And it's just like he kept saying the same things over and over and over again. But one thing that I think it was like 3 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe sooner than that. There's a high school called Tucker High School that was being kind of demolished and rebuilt. So my dad, in his, I think it was his sophomore or junior year, that's when they ended segregation, and they had a choice. Either the kids could integrate, or they could stay within their school. So my dad was one of 5 Black men that volunteered to go into a integrated school, because most of the students were like, no, we're happy with our people, with our culture. We can study, we can focus. If we go there, we'll get spit on, we'll get called names and bullied. So why would we want to leave our group to go? And my dad thought, really, somebody has to do it. Like we're free and we have free choice, but if we still choose to stay separate, we're not really equal. So the school wrote up a paper with him and just honored him, because he chose to deal with all this crap, getting burned with cigarettes and pushed and mocked and all this stuff. But he just told me somebody had to do it. Somebody had to step up, and he stepped up. And I think because he felt so much of the pain and of other people and of himself, and he just felt like he had to do something. And so I'm just so thankful that he did that, and he really instilled strength in me to be a leader and to step up and to do things. Sometimes he had that tough love, and I'm a kid, and I think I know it all and I want to do it my way. But then it's like, he instilled really, really good values in me, and I'm just thankful that he was able to get through that, because a lot of people get broken down and they die a broken person because they're constantly trying to strive, getting stepped on, getting squashed. And I just want to hear other people's stories. And coming up to this, I've been speaking to different people in the group, and each person has a different story about growing up Black, growing up in different countries, in different just places where there was no question about like there's Black and white people, but they all get along, and there's no like really oppression of, you can't drink at this water fountain because you're this color. So it's so interesting to see different people, and to see people that came up in the worst situation but still rose out of that and made that their message and their purpose to help others and to do something great within their life. And like, I just want to hear about the people that don't get put in the history books. And I'm sure there's so many people here listening, so many people that have stories from their family, from their own lives, that they might want to share. And just understanding that, yes, we can be the, I guess, strongest person and most successful person, but there can be that inner dialogue of, I am not enough going on. No matter, like not just Black people, but everyone. So that's something that we have to really bring up and talk about. And the more we can empower ourselves to understand that we are not alone in this thought process, and that we do have the power within us to overcome, we can come together as a community and really uplift each other and empower each other. So I think that because of all that's going on, it's been very difficult for people to connect and have a safe space, because social media is getting political, and the monetary stuff, and people are just getting blacklisted and ghosted and cut off, and you can't say this, you can't say that. And it's very difficult that we can't, and also we can't gather in the street, and we can't like really have close town halls to really discuss things. So it's just we're relying on social media and these online spaces to hopefully have free speech, hopefully come together. So I think this is a community that is very embracing and can have a free and open forum for people to cry, to laugh, to scream, to do whatever they want and feel like they are being held in a safe container.
Yes, that's beautiful, Michael. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. So powerful. And I was saying that is so brave, especially as an HSP. I wanted to share that and invite anybody else to share their story today, to that we're holding a container, an open container of support for you. And Michael, just to share a moment of acknowledging what you and your family have been through, what you talked about, what you shared, and the oppression and everything that you talked about, where, you know, the experience of not being able to be yourself in the world, and getting messages that you're less than or that you're not enough, and how many generations have experienced that and how difficult that is. And I think it's really beautiful that you're sharing your story, that you're opening up a space for others to talk about it. And even for those listening that are listening to the replay afterwards, I want to create a space for that so that you can even share with Michael if you're listening afterwards. So if anybody wants to come on and share their story, are you resonating with Michael, what he's saying? Do you want to share your story? I just want to kind of provide a space for that. Michael, anything else you want to share while we're waiting to see if somebody wants to pop in?
I mean, I have other, I guess, things to talk about my grandfather, but I'll let other people share first before I dive into that.
And you can unmute yourself. You can write in the chat, whatever you would like to do. I want to just create a space for that to share.
And also, any parents out there that are trying to raise their children in what's going on, you know, to help them understand, you know, both we're in a pandemic and wearing masks and not being able to connect with other children, other family, and just how to really grasp all of this chaos of the police and the killings and all that. As a young person, it can be very scary to see a person of your same color on TV dying because of a white person is like putting force on you. And like, how do you explain that to a child? So I know that can be a very tough situation. So, you know, like I would like to hear what people are, how they're navigating that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an amazing thing to be sharing this, and to be able to talk about your story and the story of your family and what Black people are experiencing right now and what they have been experiencing for generations. I think being able to share those stories of oppression in a space that feels safe to do that can be a really powerful thing. Kristen saying, I'm taking in what you're sharing, Michael, the injustice that Black, Indigenous, people of color folks deal with, came into my awareness very early as an HSP. I so want to show up as an ally and be a witness. Thank you. Oh, I also got her hand raised. Yeah, please come on and share.
Hi, I figured I would just come on video to say hi. I wanted to say, Michael, a lot of what you said really resonated. And I think for me in particular, it's kind of all of these things come together. I'm a woman and also Black and also an HSP. And I work in a very male dominated field. I work in STEM. And so like for so long, I felt like there were like things wrong with me, and I didn't know why. I never felt like I belonged. I never felt like I fit in. And it's only in the last couple of years where I've just started to understand like kind of all these different layers of identity and kind of how there's just so much gaslighting, especially of people with different identities, and your feelings are minimized, your emotions are minimized. You're not allowed to have certain, the society doesn't want to feel the emotions that you express at being marginalized in different ways. And it's taken a lot for me to kind of work with that and see that and understand that, and then also feel how it comes up for me. And I think a lot of kind of trying to get into a lot of more embodiment practices to really allow those sensations to work through and feel as there's thoughts that come up, and maybe those lead to sensations or sensations lead to thoughts, and try to kind of allow all of those to come out. But it's really felt transformational to feel like, oh, okay, I am different. I am different in many of these ways, but there's nothing wrong with that. And it's been really fun
Mm-hmm.
to start to feel into that more. So thanks very much for sharing, and thanks, Julie, also for creating the space.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks so much. Yeah, allowing those emotions to come through our body and release is super important, but it's not something that comes naturally. It's like when we're told to kind of suck it up and be strong and just like show a brave face, and some family bubbles, crying is not really allowed, or um or like if you're upset, really having a deep conversation about why you're upset and what's going on is not something that's really talked about, because it's scary and it's painful and it's hurtful, and it brings up a lot of past traumas and stuff. So let's just kind of brush it under the rug and like kind of not really talk about it, but then it just builds up inside of us, and it creates this like dense feeling of like heaviness and like loneliness. So yeah, I am also a big proponent of letting go of all that stuff, letting our body feel it, really kind of embodying ourselves, and really tuning into what we're feeling, and giving love to ourselves. If we need time to really just be alone and take a bath, or take a walk in nature, and really understanding that we need that extra self-love to fill up our cup, to nourish ourselves, because all of this stimulus outside of the world and inside can be overwhelming at times. And the more we tune in and allow ourselves to kind of navigate through that, it makes it a lot easier to be strong in the world, but also release a lot of stuff that we don't want to carry with us. So
Yeah, I thank
yeah.
you so much, Io, for sharing your story, for being brave to come on and share your story. I believe that the sharing of these stories can be some steps towards healing. And Kay has her hand up too, so I'd love to invite you to join us. Hello, Kay, are you there? Oh, having some mic issues. I don't know if Michael, if you'd like to share more while Kay's getting her mic issues set up. We'd love to hear from you, Kay, when you're ready.
Yeah, and so one of the good techniques that has really helped me is EMDR. And I mean, it's so simple, but it's so profound, of going into a thought and an image of some sort of trauma, or I mean, it could be a big trauma or little trauma, big T or little t, you know, or just a event that happened that day or the past week that has been kind of disturbing to you, to really go in and visualize yourself, but then kind of have this more of a separation. And it's like it's like controlling a play of, you're seeing it play out, but then you can intervene, and um, you can change the dialogue. You can really reframe the story to be empowering, and that really tells your nervous system, like no, like I'm not going to be scared anymore, you know, like I'm going to be strong. And just really changing those thoughts to change the emotion within, and that truly can help you reframe and release that old story, and know that the empowered part of you can talk to this scared part of you, and really hold its hand to come along and just navigate each and every day by doing these techniques. And at first I was doing it with a therapist practitioner, but now it's like I can just do it on my own, just tap and go in and meditate and really think about these things. But it sounds so woo woo and so I guess esoteric and simple, but it is such a profound technique to do, to really tap in. And yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, it's going to be painful and upsetting. But once you let those feelings go, your body just feels so much lighter, and more space to take on more love for yourself, and just have more space to be creative and do.
Beautiful. I love that you're sharing some techniques that have been helpful for you. Kay thinks that she's ready. We'd love to have you come on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, excellent. So first of all, thank y'all for having this. And Michael, thank you so much for sharing and kind of creating this space for us. I just wanted to say, oh, I would start my video, but the room I'm in and the amount of fries and hamburger I've eaten might still be on my face. So I'm gonna
We don't care.
decline that. But
This is a safe space. Anything goes.
maybe another time. But I recently came into the awareness of the whole world of HSP about a month and a half ago. So I'm still learning. I'm still processing and trying to understand. As far as I can tell, I'm probably a highly sensitive extrovert. And what I've had to do is kind of reframe my entire life. I'm now in my 30s, and just kind of like understand and see why my past experiences have been in some part what they have been. And so a lot of that is coming, of course, after 2020. And for me, everybody had a pretty cruddy year for the most part. But my story is that I am working in public health. We're kind of like the unseen essential workers. And so we started working on COVID stuff back in January or February. And it was nonstop. Since then, it was, 60-hour weeks, and, just 16-hour days, and just a lot of crazy work, constant changing information, high stress, and of course the unknown factor. I got married last year, and so it was that, and then planning my wedding, like for a few hours on Sunday every day. And then also everything that just happened in the news with Black Lives Matter, and The news was also back and forth about COVID. There was a lot of fear and just misinformation. And it was just a lot all the time. And I found myself not able to have capacity for everything. You know, I'm engaged, I have a relationship, I have my parents I was living with, I have friends who were scared and asking me about COVID information. I have my normal job. And then I have everything happening with, you know, police shootings, and it was just all the time. But at the same time, I felt this guilt because I didn't have more capacity to just be everything. Like I really wanted to be like out there, you know, um, supporting the in an appropriate way, Black Lives Matter. I wanted to let my fellow Black people know that I also felt the same way and wanted them to feel loved and heard, and I wanted to help, but I could barely watch the news. Like I could just not do any more than I was already barely making it through. And it just took a while for me to get over that guilt about. And then of course, like I'm severely stressed out, so I'm overwhelmed. And just of course at that point wondering why is it so hard for me to make it through this work day? You know, why do I just feel like crying? Or why did I just blow up on my fiance when he asked me a normal question? And it just took me a while to get to the point where I could like make boundaries and make time for rest, and also to forgive myself and not be so hard on myself for not being able to do more than I was already doing. And so that was just something that, you know, especially as a Black person, I just really wanted to do more to kind of like help heal like our culture and our people and even my parents, you know. And I felt like I was just barely making it through myself.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it is a lot. And I don't watch the news. I am very particular with how I take in the news, and typically like reading the news, and like, you know, having it curated that way is much easier, because the regular TV they sensationalize stuff to get attention. So it's so, I guess, one-sided at times and very harsh, and it is a lot to take in. And being a HSP, setting up boundaries has been a big struggle for a lot of people. And for me, it's taken me a long time to really set boundaries, to only take in things and energy from people that I trust, from sources at a certain, I guess, rate. And then I have to like put up the boundary, and then have time for me, have time to decompress, have time to love myself, to kind of, it's like that pressure builds up, and you got to kind of hit the side button to like let some of that pressure and steam out. But yes, I mean, I can totally relate with you. And I like COVID has really brought up a lot of stuff, as well, from, because I'm a Marine too, and I went to war, and it was like that's added stuff on top of my plate. A lot of guilt there, and stuff, and shame there. So I really had to, the EMDR helped really well, but really talking to somebody that can create that safe space for you to get it off your chest, for them to really understand you and have that dialogue. And maybe your your way to give back to people is to create that intimate setting and have a space and a present place for them to have that dialogue, to discuss what they're feeling. Because going to the Black Lives Matter rallies, there were a lot of people that were so mad and so I guess over it, that it was just in your face, like, this is what we want, and just so aggressive versus having an actual conversation. It was just like, I'm going to say my point, you're going to say your point, but I don't think there was really a cohesive dialogue with a lot of people. And it's good to show up and say, it's good to show up and say that we're taking a stand for things, but that's not everybody's role. I don't believe. I think there are people that need to be on the sidelines and need to have that space and openness to have a discussion and really hold people that may have gone to a riot and had a more traumatizing experience, because they're trying to push themselves to go out there, but that's so taxing. So yeah, I totally understand, and I honor you for where you are, and I think that you have a unique space that you can help people in this issue, in this time.
Yeah, I agree. And if Kay or AO, you want to come back on to share more or in response to Michael. And I also just want to validate the experience. I'm hearing this a lot from the Black community. We did another event with Sydney James about being highly sensitive while Black. And actually there was a lot of feedback about that same feeling that you expressed, Kay, about wanting to do more, but feeling completely overwhelmed. And I just want to validate that, you know, you mentioned, I mean, you've gone through so much in that year, and there really is only so much that each person can possibly do, and so impacted by the trauma. And Michael, what you said about the news, I 100% agree with that. I think reading is going to be, especially for HSPs, watching the news can be incredibly traumatizing, especially as a Black HSP. So I agree with that, to try to minimize the trauma that's on the news every day. And yeah, I'm just reading also some notes on here. Yeah, if anybody else wants to come on and share, please do, or in response to Michael.
This is Kim. Hi. Going along with that, I mean, I think what I've kind of learned from the HSP community I just joined is kind of confronting the guilt that does come with our traits sometimes. So I see the news and I feel this like strong responsibility to be informed, and I have such strong empathy. I mean, I'm white, but the Black Lives Matter movement like really touched me and hit me, and I felt this like strong need to like contribute, and then balancing that with my own overwhelm and my own capacity, and kind of figuring out, like, feeling guilty almost, like, why can't I do more, or why can't I absorb more of this, you know, just such a strong responsibility that I think comes with being an empath and an HSP. But it's just such a hard balance, and it's hard to fend off that guilt of wanting to be so informed and wanting to take it all in. And I guess it comes back to kind of like accepting what our limitations are and what our strengths are, and absorbing what we can and kind of processing it and giving it back to the world in the beautiful way we know how. But you know, knowing your limits too without having that guilt. So I don't know, it's kind of an ongoing thing I struggle with. And I'm sure many of you can relate.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Kim. And also just sharing these stories, like Kay and Ayo, to share your story, Michael, to share your stories. These are powerful things to be doing right now. And you know, just develop your own self-compassion around all of this too, that your awareness of what you need, and hopefully having tools, some of the tools like Michael's naming, and self-compassion in general is going to be such a powerful tool to have during all of this. It's so life-changing, right, Michael?
It is. It is. Self-compassion, and there's a powerful process that I use for myself and for my clients as well. And it's really looking at our self map. Like, so our identity is built upon our beliefs, our thoughts, our accomplishments, and ideas. And when we're so small, it's like having a dartboard and you're the bullseye. And when you're small, people are throwing all these darts on your board, telling you who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to believe and do. And it's very overwhelming. And I think sometimes when it becomes too much pressure and the environment is not suited for creativity and growth, we can forget that we have choice to take off those darts and put them away. Like, we have choice of our own identity. We bring all these beliefs with us, but then we hit a certain age in adulthood and carry a lot of these beliefs with us, and they can be very, very limiting. And we want to push through them and be strong and do it, but actually taking the time to really go within and see what's on the map and see, does this belief suit me? Maybe in the past it's helped me survive, but right now it's not helping me become the best person I can be. So am I willing to take that off or move it further away from the center, of the bullseye, and really understanding what our beliefs are and how we act? Because, like, I think it's like 90% of our life is like habit and automatic, and we see something, have a reaction, and then we have an emotion, and that turns into an action, and then we have a certain positive or negative response based on that. So if we can really understand what makes us move throughout the day and actually take the actions, have the thoughts, and who we are, then we can really shift that and change and mold ourselves into who we want to be. But we have to actually look at all of the stuff that is inside of us. And that can be the hardest part, but it's so rewarding to actually do that. And there's a process involved that we go through. But just for me personally, I mean, I only practice what I preach. I only teach what I've done. And I've transformed myself from, healing from all these ailments to obesity, to addiction, to all this stuff. And I really had to go within and really had to shift stuff inside of me and say, look, this is not working for me anymore. I need to get rid of that. And it's going to free up space. It's going to have more space to have self-love, to take in positive things from other people, and be lighter and not feel so heavy. And then just finding community of other people that you can really discuss this with, and really like link in with. You're like, I'm not the only person dealing with this. I don't have to do this alone. And together we can create, like Voltron. I don't know if you remember Voltron, the little cartoon, but it's like together we can, be powerful. So yeah, I can rant all day, but I'll stop there.
I know. There's so much to say, and this is really just the beginning of the whole conversation. And if anybody's listening and wants to I'm very excited that we're adding Black HSP practitioners to the HSP practitioner directory. And I'm so glad, Michael, you're on that, so people can also work with you, because I do think that it's important to work, if you are Black, to work with a Black practitioner. Do you agree with that, Michael?
I do, especially when it involves mental and physical health. So there's a part of our culture that we are unhealthy because we learn how to eat a certain way, and that food sticks with us, not only on our palate, but in our mind, in our cells, of like, when I eat this food, this brings me closer to my parents, my grandparents, my ancestors, because this is what my culture eats. And then that can really cause physical ailments and disease in the body, which then can cause us to feel guilty for not being healthy, for being overweight. And then there's just a lot of more of that mental dialogue that plays into the physical, and who am I supposed to be as a Black person versus who am I supposed to be in the world. So I think every race and identity has a certain way of, this is the way that they're told they should be in the world. So I think connecting with somebody that can truly relate can really connect, and also help open up the space to say, this person understands me. I'm going to pour out and open up to them. Because personally, I've coming back from Iraq and having all these issues, I've gone to different therapists to try and talk about things, but some of them just weren't the right fit because they just didn't connect, and there were several reasons why, but it's just like not having that connection. It's like, no matter how much I want to release, there's just like invisible wall here that is just bouncing back, and it doesn't feel like it's being reciprocated. So yes, I think that's very important.
Yeah. And Michael, in just the remaining time that we have, we went by so fast, and I know there's so much to share. But why don't you let us know how people can find you, and if there's anything else you wanted to share. You mentioned a story about your grandfather. I just wanted to give some space to that, if that's the story you wanted to share.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me at michaelacoles.com, or you can just send me an email at michaelacoles1982@gmail. So those are different ways, or on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, so I post things and interact, and I love to hear stories of other people. So if you all have something to share after this, or want to post a video or something, feel free to interact with me, and we can kind of spread this awareness to other people. So my story of my grandfather, I only have bits and pieces of what happened, but my grandfather was an amazing man from what I've been told, because he lived, so we're in Virginia, and back in the day, Black people lived in the like rural area. So it was like a lot of land, a lot of country. My grandfather's, I guess, family had a farm and all this. So he dropped out of the third grade to work on the farm. So he was literate, and but everyone in the family had a special, I guess, I forget what you call it, like everybody was either a carpenter or a bricklayer, or lay cement. So whenever somebody needed a home, everybody got together and they built the house for that person, and then they built kind of like a certain neighborhood. And my grandfather just built like such a beautiful estate. I mean, like $1 million estate. Like, I mean, it was like, when I grew up, I thought I was rich because he had a in-ground pool, and like a pool table, and a patio and all this stuff, but it was all built from him. And it was so beautiful, but like he can't do math, he can't write, he can't read. And I'm like, how the heck are you doing all this stuff? and I found out that he ran with my grandmother a juke joint, which is like a jazz club, and they lived upstairs, and they had the like jazz club downstairs. So I mean, he was a entrepreneur, and with all of this stuff of the like before the Housing Act, they were doing a lot of stuff within contracts of not allowing Blacks to purchase buildings or be in a certain area. So he just really navigated a lot of suppression and stuff, especially with raising children. That my grandmother would take my dad into the basement of Bloomingdale's to shop because they can't go into the front of the store, which is, to me, it's like, I can understand that because I just grew up going into any store. So it's just the stuff that they have gone through. He just persevered, and he was such a hard worker and really wanted so much for his family. And my father, my aunts and uncles, they're just such great people, educated people, just really strong, really, I guess, sure-footed because of what my grandparents did and went through to persevere and to just instill within them. And that strength has just been passed down. And I'm just so thankful. And like, I don't know all the stories. There's a lot of stories that won't be told because they're so traumatizing and hurtful, but there are also so many grand stories of strength and of overcoming and just doing a lot more than other white people would ever do. So in that time, just kind of, there's, I don't know, there's upper class, middle class, lower class in all races, but just being kind of pushed down in this class of like, you stay here, and people still rising through and trickling on and say, you're not keeping me down here. And there's so many millionaires and successful people and people that are just humble and working with youth, working to help empower people, teachers and educators. And I mean, they don't get recognized enough. And so, I really, really wanted to get this story from, about him. And so I can find out more, I guess, from my family, but just from what I've been told, it's just, I'm just so thankful that I can be a part of that lineage. And it really helps me understand what our civil rights leaders went through. And like, I can feel it, and it brings me closer to like wanting to know more about my past culture and what happened, because a lot of my generation growing up, we didn't care about history class. We just wanted to play and party and do all this stuff. So it's a different mentality when it comes to like schooling and learning, I think, now than before, when it's so in your face. You're like, I'm going to focus, I'm going to study, I'm going to be educated, I'm going to do something big. And now just having so many different options, it's like the pool is so much more open for everyone. But there's still that inner battle going on, which needs to be heard and spoken up, especially men. We don't talk about health. We don't talk about mental illness. And that's something that sometimes can kill us because we just stuff it down. So, like really, really having places to open up and to feel like we are not alone, and that it's okay, and we're still a man, we're still manly if we are vulnerable, if we speak up about our feelings, if we cry. So that idea of quote unquote a man has to change, and that idea of quote unquote being a woman and what you should do, black, white, whatever, needs to change too. So I just, yeah, race, creeds, sexual preference, everything is opening up and coming to light, and needs to be talked about and really embraced and honored. And the past, the future, and the present needs to be honored.
Beautiful, Michael. That's a beautiful story to share. And you gave me goosebumps when you talked about, being pushed down and kind of rising above. I just think that's so remarkable. And in sharing your story and those of you that shared your story today, I just want to really honor you and thank you for sharing your story. And we have so much to do to combat racism, to build and grow and move humanity forward in these areas. And if there's the things that I can do that's a part of that, it's really important to me to be a part of that. So thank you, Michael. I am just in awe of your story, and you're such a great example of sensitive empowerment and sensitive Black empowerment. To be able to share your story with others is going to be very powerful, I think. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing and for being here.
Yes, thank you all for being here. And I'm going to post this. If you are listening to the replay after this and you want to watch the video part of it, it'll be at hspblog.com. If you want to join the Sensitive Empowerment community to be with us live every week, we've got some more events coming up with some Black leaders. I love, Michael, that you're a part of the community. And if you want to check out the HSP Practitioners Directory, you can go to juliebelland.com or sensitiveconnection.com and find everything that we've talked about, including this video. Thank you so much, Michael, for everything that you are in the world and for being here today. I appreciate you and I value you and I honor you.
Thank you, Julie. I honor you too. Love you.
Love you guys so much. Thank you for being with us, everybody. Bye-bye.